Hello, welcome back to Hello Drunk World. On today's session, we're going to be checking out live blocks. We're also going to be trying to build a Slido clone. Just going to write a message in the chat here. Along. Can I spell yet? Cool. So getting kicked off here. So I thought in this session we'd try out this tool, live blocks. I read a blog post. It was linked in one of those JavaScript newsletters that everybody reads. I can't remember what the post was about, but the thing that kind of caught my eye was this live blocks, and the whole idea is like, you have really super fast integrations with multiple users. They kind of pitch it as like making like interactive games or live interactable tools and stuff. What I kind of thought, I've been thinking for a while about trying to see if I could build my own version of a Slido style tool. So you don't know what Slido is. It's a kind of question tool. They do polls and that kind of stuff, but I'm more focused on the questions and the ability, like, say I'm pitching it for, like, I run a local meetup called Belfast JS, and my idea is the ability for like users to multiply, at the same time firing questions, upvote those questions, and then at the end we can use that as a way to like push those questions to the users, or not the users, the presenters who are speaking. And if you've watched my streams before and my voice sounds a little bit off, I somehow bit my tongue. Well, I burnt my tongue on hot pizza, then in my sleep bit my tongue. So now I'm talking with a bit of a different voice, but we'll power through this, and we've plenty of lubricant to keep us going. So let's get straight into it. On this session, we've got let me get this to focus. A nice bottle of wine. We have a Pinot Noir. I've been trying to expand my horizons on wines. I thought I liked Merlot and Malbec. It's one of those that I like, but I'm not too sure. So we'll kick things off with our wine ASMR. Someday I'll learn how to pronounce this. So get the glugs. And if you're new to the stream, say hi in the channel. And especially if you're in the channel, you're going to be there to help me put that missing semicolon, fix that syntax error, try and figure out what I'm actually meant to be doing. So let's see, yep, my shortcuts work, so let's pull up the screen. So I've already kind of bootstrapped a Create React app, which is what we're going to be using. And I've got the live blocks documentation up here that we can use. And you see me looking off the side, I'm just keeping an eye on the chat and that kind of stuff. So I've already signed up for an account, got everything going, because I have my own dashboard and everything set up. I think to kind of kick things off, we're going to go through the getting started guide. But I've also I wanted to have fun with this and do something different. So I've bootstrapped the project with 95 CSS. Which gives me like this little Windows style look and feel. Retro techies out there will appreciate it, and hopefully we can use some of this when we're coding things out. I think we have inputs and stuff. That's kind of all we really need. I don't know if we have lists or not as well, but we'll kind of see where we're going. And this is our bare bones app that we have at the moment. So let's get going. As you can see, we have about a lot of random HTML in here, but we're going to be focusing on this main content area, where we're doing all our work. And I guess I always preface a lot of the stuff we're going to be drinking through this, so things are going to probably fall over and we're going to break. And as well, I use WebStorm day to day, and I use VS Code to do these streams, so my keybinds are completely different and how I use the code is very different. So let's try our wine and see what it's like. Ooh, that's actually quite good. It's not too bad. I like that. So we're going to kind of kick off with this getting started guide just so we can kind of get an idea of what the API is, what we need to get up and running. So thankfully enough, they have a React tutorial, which we'll be following. I've already pre-installed the dependencies because nobody wants to watch me watch a npm install that could take God knows how long. So the first thing we need to do, which I kind of like, is they have a provider that can wrap the entire application. So we need to go to our index is where we'll place any of our providers, because we're already wrapping everything in React strict mode. So from this, we can see here that we need to, and I think that's big enough, yeah, you can see that screen. We need to pull in the client, pull in the provider, and then create our client, add in our provider. So let's copy pasta these two lines. I love that, like, my VS Code is saying, oh, it's declared but not known, and it's saying it's not spelled correctly. I'm the dyslexic developer, so nothing's going to be spelled correctly in this. So let's wrap our app in live blocks. So, and if you can see some of these graded comments, I'm running GitHub Copilot. I think I say this in every stream, but for people who just jump in at random times, I'm using Copilot. It's good, not perfect, but it helps. So we'll do this, and that's obviously not the way we provide our client, but it saves me having to type a lot. So we'll wrap our app, and then our client is defined by the create client. So we're not going to do that yet. We'll just pass null into there, and then we'll do const client equals create client. Where's it thinking it's getting a URL from? No, it's not a URL. What are you doing? And I'm not typing out the public key thing. So we're going to grab this now. I have my own API key that we're going to have to pull in. So what I'm going to do is flick back to me while I grab my API key and put it into a secure file. Now this is a public API key, so I don't think it matters too much. But I don't want to have to share this on a stream and then have to delete the API keys and all that kind of jazz. But knowing me, I'll probably tab back into the file at some point, and we'll all get to see the API key. Export const key equals. And I'm typing this. I'm saying this out loud, but you can't see. And we go back in here, and we do. So yeah, I think I can flip back now. Yeah, so we can flip back here, and I should go say import key from /API. So then this becomes our key. So hey Guillermo, I'm gonna say Guillermo. We'll say Gil. I've never used Copilot with live blocks. It's really cool to see how. Yeah, it's really interesting to see how it interacts with, like, I'm showing the API key anyway. Sure, it doesn't matter. It's really interesting to see how it interacts with, like, different libraries where it tries to, like, French version of volume. Okay, I'll call you Will. Cool. This is the cool thing about being able to interact with people in chat. Sometimes it's just me talking to myself. Yeah, so Copilot, it's cool seeing how, like, when it's a really well established API, it can get things really, really close to the point. If it's something new, it's going to try and come up with random things. Like, it was trying to say, like, a URL when we were actually like, no, we needed a public key. I guess creating a client with a URL sounds like something that would happen. So now we pass client into here. Client, so that's that done. We've got our app, and nothing's broken, which is good. So let's go back to our getting started guide. So I think probably the easiest steps, and it fits into where I want to go with this, is creating a room. And the room, because room has storage and it has interactions, and we can, like, connect the users with a room. So I think we're going to like follow this room pattern. So we're not going to do it in, well, we can do it in our app, but there's a lot going on here. But we could wrap this in our room, and then anything below that has access to it because of providers in React. Okay, so that's kind of cool. So let's grab this line. So we're going to pull in the room provider, which we can then wrap our component, or our app component, which is like that kind of Windows 95 app. So we'll do room provider. And this is all going to break first, but we can fix this. Fix our indents. So now we're wrapping this in our room provider, but we need a ID for a room. So we're going to say ID equals Slido -clone. And my assumption from here is I haven't created this room, but using this provider, given a room ID, I'm imagining LiveBlocks says this room doesn't exist, so let's create this room for you. Which is a perfect kind of a prototyping, good way to kind of quickly get going, because I don't have to interact with LiveBlocks itself. I just write the code and everything talks to LiveBlocks. So we have a room provider, we're wrapping that, so anything inside of this can now access it. So the next one in the examples here is about connecting the users. So I think we're going to do this in our main content potentially, because this will show the act of using a provider and not having to prop drill down the chain. So we have this main content component, and we need to pull in these imports again. Now in this case, we don't need the provider because our provider is in our app. Now I guess we could have put the provider in the index as well. There you go, we should the key anyway. We could have wrapped it here, but I guess if you want to have multiple rooms in your application, you would want to like scope them in the tree where they would live. That's my kind of thinking. So we'll go back to our main content. This is where we have our use others hook. My assumption is this taps into whatever the room gives us. So for sanity's sake, we're going to copy and paste it again. So yes, it acts like a upsert. Create if it doesn't exist, or connect if it doesn't. I think that's a really cool way of doing it. So you don't have to create everything. You don't have to like bootstrap a bunch of like rooms or know the rooms ahead of time, so you can quickly develop and not have to worry about this as you go. My only maybe worry about that is you're potentially like in a very fast development cycle, you might end up with a bunch of rooms that are like, fat finger typed of the room name, and you end up with like rooms with like colors with COLOUR and COLOUR, like that kind of thing. So you might have to go in and clean up the rooms after the fact. Yeah, so we'll do use others. We have our connect others. I'll just fix my indentation. So that then calls our use others hook, and then others gives us an account. I assume then that is how many users are viewing this page or connected to that room. So if I drop this into here and save, nothing is broken. I guess we could probably wrap this in a div or do something. I have to style things. I hate styling things. I just want to write JavaScript. Let's just do the lazy way. Wrap it in a p tag, because that'll give us our spacing for us. Sure, who cares about semantic HTML anymore? So this is all good. You're the only one here. So I wonder then if I grab this, open up a new window. Oh, not full screen it, but pop it over here. Drop this in. Okay, so there is one other person in the room. That was quick, and I didn't have to do anything. Let's open up another window. Drop the link in there. There's two, and there's two. I assume then we keep going for infinity, and there's 3 people here. Now, when I close this, does it update? Yes, it does. So there must be some sort of unmounting in the provider or the hook that knows when it's unmounted to say this person's no longer connected, or the WebSocket disconnects. Maybe that's how it works. I liken this to the likes of Firebase, where they have like their like data store, which is like a WebSocket which you can subscribe to, but you have to, like, for me to do this in Firestore or Firebase, I would have to build the connection, build the subscriber, update my state based on that, where this was just like the hook did it all for me, which I thought was very cool. Cool. So we've got that. I think we're gonna have to do some styling, aren't we? Or we'll just keep doing p tags, because this is like a 1 to 2 hour stream. So the next thing is the actual, like, well, there's multiple things I kind of want to do. So we've kind of got I think this is the end of like the getting started guide. And the other thing that interested me was, have I lost the documentation for it? Yes, so I'll move this over here. The broadcast event. So I'm not going to use this right now, but I'm going to use this later on, because I think this would be really cool to do stuff with. So first thing, so I want to start using the room, and explicitly using the room storage to handle the questions for this. So we're going to create a questions component just to keep things clean. So if I click here, I know people love VS Code. I just haven't spent enough time with it to give it the attention and the love, and it needs so many extensions and to change things. Like, I just want VS Code, but it's WebStorm. Like, I only use the key bindings for WebStorm and like some of the auto completion. I just want that in VS Code. So this is going to be our question component. We'll call it questions instead of questions, because it's going to be questioning things. So we'll do const question, and we're just going to create a very blank React component. We don't do anything yet. We're just going to say questions go here. Yeah, perfect. Questions go here. And we need to export this. So export default questions. And then we go back, and then here we're going to do question, and it's auto imported. Everything's looking well. Let's go back to our Slido app. Questions go here. So to ask a question, we need an input. So how do we get an input out of 98.js? It's crazy that I'm old enough that I've worked with this UI look and feel so much that it just feels natural for me. So we can grab this. So we're gonna have to do some styling at some point here. So we'll just call this class name question container, and we'll go to our index success, add this in. We don't need the P. So by default, I know, and GitHub Copilot knows, that I'm gonna probably do some flexbox display in this. Column, yes. Center, yes. Yeah, I think that'll work for me. Yep. Okay, that's cool. And instead of occupation, this is gonna be ask a question. Cool. And then we need a button to submit our question. I'm not going to go whole like semantic, like we have to, it's a form and you submit it. We're going to be using state and effects and hooks, and here is our button. which is just a button. So okay, that's kind of cool. It is styled for me. And call this ask. Do we need the label? Yeah. Okay, I think I can do it. Let's grab this and we'll say question input. Yeah, chef's kiss on the window styles. Maybe for some of the people watching this, they've never seen this before, and they're kind of wondering why I'm making something look terrible in 2022. But sure, we've had a terrible year. Why not? So width, and I'm gonna say 300 pixels, random number off the top of my head. Perfectly, worked out well. Okay, cool. I keep drinking. So in the last stream, I had more than half a bottle of wine at the end, and the whole idea of this is I finish a bottle of wine as I do this. Shout out in the chat if you like to have a glass of wine or whiskey with your coding when it's 5 o'clock or later in your area. So, right, we need some state to hold some of this information. Oh, the class and the JSX. Probably enough it still works, which is kind of interesting, but yeah, we'll change that to name. There you go. I'll keep you happy. Hopefully that wasn't broken. Okay. So, how's it going? Furious bidding. So, we need some state to manage what we're going to be typing into this input. So now we need to import React. Use state from React, and we'll say const question. Do we want? No, you wouldn't put in a default question. It's only 2:30 in Montreal. Yeah, nothing wrong with a glass of wine with with lunch. So we don't want to give it default state because we can give it a placeholder, and this will be what's your question. Just like that. Okay, so we've got our state to hold that. Obviously, when they type, we need to update that state, and I'm really pedantic about my indentation and new lining of props. So we'll do on change. When the value changes, we update it. What's the Irish choice of beverage? For me, at home, it's going to be gin or whiskey. More of a spirits man at home. If it's in a pub or a bar or restaurant, it's probably going to be like a beer or a lager. Guinness, obviously, as well. I have to be the Guinness guy because I'm Irish and that's all we drink all day. We have it for breakfast here in Ireland. So have this, yeah, so we've had it on event handler. If I type in here, it updates. Cool, that's grand. We're not going to wire up our button yet, so now we need to figure out how do we interact with live blocks and the room to when I ask this question, I want to tell live blocks this is the question that was asked, so every client can then consume it. So I'm assuming it's going to be off this use room hook that we're provided. So we have use room. This is correct. So I want to grab this. And we're going to say const room. Now what does room give us? I'm already struggling to type, and we're only 26 minutes into this. What does room give us? Let's see, room gives us, we can see that on chat. Yeah, I'll just zoom in a little bit more. So we get a shitload of stuff. Subscribe, I assume we're going to need that. get storage. From reading the docs, get storage is where I want to be at. I have it somewhere around here. Yes. So get storage is an asynchronous function. So if you want to interact with the storage, it's probably easier to use the use list or use object. But that was my same thinking. So if I grab the room storage, it gives me there's a use object hook. Okay. Use object. Is this in the docs? Let me duplicate this. Because I've done this before. I think I did this the real arse about face way of doing it. So returns live object associated with a provided key. Okay. If that does not exist, it's created. So yeah, when I tried this before, I did the asynchronous use room and then subscribed, which I feel like this hook is probably doing that stuff for me. Now that gives me the object which I can get and set on. Okay, so I don't think we need the room then. I think I can say const, so call this question data equals use object question. So if that doesn't exist, it'll create it for me, which is an object, because I'm going to do the key value kind of pairing. So let's log this out and go back here. Yes, okay, that gives us a live object. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a live object because I can interact with that live object, because I can get and set, and I can to object on it. If I store as a global variable, so now I can say temp one dot. It has a to object. Yeah, it has a to object method on, which is going to be an empty object. Okay, that's interesting. That's what I'm looking for. Because then I can set on this. So what we can say here is, so whenever they type the question and then click the button, we want to add that as the new attribute to this live object, which is our question data. And each key is going to be a unique ID for that question. And the value is going to be an object, which we'll expand upon probably later. So probably best to create a function here. So if I do const ask question is that, and then in here it's going to say question data dot set. Yes, okay, we're getting there. And I'm assuming the set, I have the docs for this somewhere. Storage, use object, yeah, live object. We can do that, we can delete, we can get, yeah, we can set, so it's a key value pair. I'm assuming the value can be an object. Fingers crossed. So we set it with the ID. So I already have pulled down a UID library. So if I do import from UID, I think it's B4 from UID. We'll just call this as UID. It could be anything serialized. Well, yeah, so I'm assuming it JSON stringifies it, sends it to live blocks, you store it, and when it comes back, it like JSON parses it and gives me the parse value. So in here, I'm going to say the key is UID, and the value is going to be question, and we'll say votes, because we're going to add in a voting system. Votes 0. Is that right? So when we do set, it's taking 2 strings. We're passing it a string and an object. Is that correct? Why is it giving us this underline? Probably a property assignment. Oh, because we're passing it. No, we're passing an object instead of just 2 parameters. Yeah. Okay. So that's technically that. We'll put a semicolon in there for shits and giggles. Click equals ask question. And let's go to my dashboard. And go to rooms. Obviously I played about this before, so I do have two rooms. So go into this room. That is taking me there, isn't it? Yeah. Interesting, yes. So on my other one, in the test room, I had just dug into the raw root object and was adding the UIDs in, whereas now I can say question, which is probably not the best name, it should have been questions. I guess, could I just do that? Because I haven't asked the question yet. I'll refresh this. So I'm gonna have question and questions, but I suppose that's okay. This is just a fuck away project. So then this is then going to set a UID on our questions with ID and the question data. Let's go back here and we'll say we'll go Irish. What's the crack? Click ask. Now nothing's going to happen. If we go back, refresh our room. I didn't call the function. I can just delete this, can't I? Yeah. Delete stores, is that permanent? I can recover from that. We'll find out. Come back here, refresh. So you're saying about like using the one I had before, but I prefer actually this, like the version I was going to, I had to create an effect. And it's nothing against the API, it's just the way I was kind of thinking about it from an external point of view. I had to create a use effect that grabs the storage, then subscribed to the storage, and then updated the state based on this, where this hook is doing all this for me. I just didn't know this hook existed. So we refresh this, we should now have a questions. Yes, okay, cool. We have our questions. And then I say, what's the crack? And I know that I'm printing out shit in the terminal. I click ask. Now nothing happens because we're not printing this out yet. When I refresh here. Yes, our UID, our question, what are the questions, and then the votes. Okay, so now we know what our data structure looks like. Yeah, perfect. It's what use object. Like I must have skimmed over the documentation for this kind of information. But maybe one suggestion is like having like I suppose you have like the React talks. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right place. But there is a React, like having like a list of all the hooks, which I'm probably going to scroll upon it now and be. Yeah, use object. Yeah, okay. I just didn't read the documentation. Though that is part of the Hello Drunk World mantra. We try and build something without reading the docs and try and build it within an hour. So now we know what our data structure looks like. So question data is going to be an object. Each key is a UID for the question. That then has a question, which is the string of the question and the votes. So we also need a loop over that. So I think we can do a field row again. Maybe this will hopefully stack the divs for us. And in here, we're going to create a UL. Question data.map. It's not going to map first, but we'll figure that out. Now, this is where potentially you guys can help me. So my original thought process is, so when I look at live object, I know I can call, if I store a global variable, I can do temp1.toObject, and then that gives me that. So then I can then do what I imagine would be object dot entries dot map item console.log item, which is then going to give me each of the questions. I wonder if if I actually read the documentation this time, will I get, so there's use object, gives you your live object. The live object is like an extraction. I probably could have used list, but I want to be able to refer back to them, so having some unique identifier to go back to them is probably useful for me. I'll stick with what I was thinking. So in here, I'm going to say, not that tab, this tab, and let's copy paste this across. So instead of temp1, this is going to be question data. And we'll new line because it's React and I'm pedantic. So I'm going to say turn question data into an object, grab the entries, map over the entries, and this is going to be, I can deconstruct this. I can deconstruct this, and it's going to be UID and question. Then I can say return. Oh, Copilot, you did me right that time, except for something went wrong. So, cannot read properties null of to object. I'm assuming this is maybe asynchronous, so I might have to say wait until this exists. Okay, cool. Wait until this exists, and we'll say questions list. We'll add some styles to this. And where's our styles? Yes, index.css. Live blocked guys, watch along. Like if I'm going crazy and over engineering something, they give me a shout, point me in the right direction. So I want to style this. I want to I guess just left align the text at the most. So inspect. I'm gonna have to pull this out into a new window just so I can see what I'm doing. So let's get rid of all the crappy styles we normally get. So list style none. Is it text align left? But then everything in here is centered, isn't it? Because it takes the div. Display flex. If in doubt, flex it out. Line items. That's not changing. Fuck it. We'll get rid of the list style and that'll be enough. The style, none. Nope, none. We saved that, but it didn't refresh. Why didn't it refresh? Oh yes, because it's the li or the L. I'm being pedantic now. I'm probably gonna style this a bit more because we need like an upvote button and shit like that. Inspect. I'm gonna do terrible styles because I'm not a style person. So there's something I can use in here, like a little container. Oh, actually, yeah. What's this? Like the title bar. This light gray background. How do I get that? Come on, show me the code. Show me the code. 100% width. Yes, I'm going to use that. 100% width. This is block quote. Oof. It feels bad maybe putting that inside of list item, but we'll see. And then yeah, we'll go index. We're going to say make our what am I doing? Yeah, it's SCL. 100%. Okay, that didn't really work. There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing like crazy in here. We'll do our own style. So let's inspect this again. Block quote was probably the bad choice there. Yeah. Because this is a demo, we're going to go 300 pixel. Which then, or this is 300 pixel. It'll do. Fuck it. It'll do. All we need is like a plus and a minus button at the end of every question. It doesn't need to be perfectly aligned. Like this is testing light blocks, not testing my CSS skills. So, right, we got our questions. Right, let's see. What happens if we ask another question? Question 1. Actually, before we do anything else, this will open up a new browser. Put it over here. Okay. Question 2. Okay, yeah, this is really cool. What I will say is when I did the subscriber pattern, bit my tongue. When I did the subscriber pattern I was talking about before, it actually was slower to update than the use object, which I find really strange. So maybe there's something different. I don't know if the use object hook is doing something more powerful or better. But when I like created my own use effect hook, maybe because I was creating a use effect and not how to like update the state, it was adding extra onto it. But it seemed to be slower than whenever I was doing this. So I do question 2. Oh well, this is going to be question 3. That didn't update. Am I missing something? Is it because I'm on localhost? Question 4. Yeah. Question 5. Okay. Okay. We're okay. We're working. So now we need the ability to upvote a question. So now we can tap into the data that we have where everything here is on 0 votes. Thanks for joining. Well, you're probably already gone by now, but yeah, thanks for the help. It was really, really very useful. So each of our questions has, we'll not do block quotes, we'll just do spam. Each of our questions has, and I'm gonna wrap this in a div. What's going on? If I finger type in. So we'll have a span. I could probably create a component for this, but yeah, so they're all there. We have a span, which is our question, and then another span. Don't come at me with your semantic HTML. Vote. Question.votes. think this is Create React app is not updating as well as I would expect it to update. Okay. And then we're going to need a upvote button. I guess we don't need a downvote button, that would be terrible. I'll wrap the button in a div because I've learned before not wrapping a button in a div when it's inside a flexbox just seems to fuck shit up. So we want this all in its own flexbox. So we're going to grab our li. So that's our question. Why are they all spans? They all should be inside of the li. I'm going to do the bad thing and make everything a div. No. We can make this spans and divs. And the li becomes our flexbox element. So we actually refresh, make sure we got the latest. We inspect this. Yeah, so now we have 2 spans and a div. So I can do display flex direction is, well, it's defaulted to row, but I'd be explicit. It's a row. And is it align items space between? No, it's justify content space between. Yeah, that could do. Long questions are going to get really interesting. Could we do? No, because in row it's very long, it's very deep. We'll stick with that for now. So grab this, go back to our index styles. So we're going to do dot question list. I guess ULI, and paste that in. So now we all have the same. Now we could probably do some sort of margin or padding, I guess. Padding bottom 10 pixel. They're always going to be offline or out of alignment, but that's not the point of this. I'm getting to top of the line. This works for us. So let's wire up our upvote button. I feel like maybe we should make this an its own component because that's getting very nested and deep. So we're going to say that's going to be our question item component. Question item.js. Question item return. And so then now this takes a prop, which is just question. And we export it. And now we can say return a question. Oh, it takes a UID. So now this is a question item. Yeah, that's not really what we're looking for, but it'll do. Just to get the auto completion. That's actually going to be UID question. Question item is not defined. Why didn't you auto import? Import question item. Okay, cool. So we now kind of clean this code up a little bit. Hide that sidebar. So now we have our question item, and interestingly, we have the UID, so we can use our provider that we were using above. So we don't have to pass through like a Because our object has an update, doesn't it? Our use object returns a live object, and I have it on a tab somewhere. Set. Is there an update on our live object? I guess I could just reset what it is. Update. Adds or updates multiple properties at once. So that's what we could use. So we can use the update on our object. So we can, well, we don't need our use room anymore because I over-engineered the shit into that. My emoji keyboard kicks in. So we have a use object, but we actually need to use object. Get rid of this console.log. So question data is that. So question data. So then we can say const on upvote. We're going to say, we know what the question data is, we just need to increase the votes. So we can say question data dot update. Update takes an object of what we want to update, so we can update multiple keys. So for us it's going to be UID votes plus one. I'm assuming we'll probably have to pass in the question as well. Question, and that's going to be question, which was badly named from the beginning. So we now have an upvote function that we should be able to tie into our onClick. So every time we click that, it adds a new vote onto that question, which we'll then figure out how to sort. We'll sort them somehow. Question data update, give it the UID. The UID is the key, this is the object. And that is updates multiple properties at once. That's maybe not going to work for us. The key should be on the file you're looping. So in here, so we're looping over, that's the UID, that's the question. Yeah, you're right. So UID is the key, question is the value. We have that, so I don't think we can do update, I think we have to do set here. And that should replace what we had before. So we increase the update, the upvotes, and we update the question. Thanks for the help there. I think this works. So let's refresh this, make sure everything's clean. Okay, yeah, our upvotes are working. Awesome, and let's grab this and open it on a new tab or a new window. I don't know if tabs works or has to be incognito windows, but we'll see how it goes. So okay, yeah, that's up to real time. And so I wonder, can we easily rearrange these based on the votes? So we're currently mapping them. I guess we could sort the values. I'm terrible at sorting. Let's see, JavaScript sort array of objects on property. If in doubt, Stack Overflow will tell us how to do it. It's not to write your own comparison function, doing that, or got the most upvotes. So compare A and B, last num. Yeah, let's copy and paste this in, see if it works. So back to our questions. So we'll create this function up here. Compare. Is it compare? Oh, sort. Oh, but then we have to sort it. Yes, we our array dot sort. So our entries dot sort compare, and then for us it's not going to be last num, it's going to be votes and votes and votes. Let's save this and see what happens. So that, no, that's not worked because that's on 3. I just pull in Lodash or something, or Ramda. I usually use Ramda for sorting stuff. Documentation, sort by, sort by prop 0. It's gonna be a lot of fucking hassle bringing, isn't it? Come on, you can write a sort function. You've been writing JavaScript for so many years. Just give me the answer. That's what I'm looking for. This seems like it's simpler. A and B. A got color greater than B. Right, so we'll grab this. And we'll see where we'll get with it. Sort, yeah. No. I know why it didn't work, because it's getting past an array of 2 values. So it's going to be A1 and B1. Because the first thing is a key. So it's going the opposite way. So I'm assuming if I flip these around, yes. So I say we'll vote question 1 up to the top. Oh yeah, it's got the top, but yeah, it's kind of funky that it moves around or whatever. Okay, so we've managed to connect the room, tell us how many people are there. I guess we could actually, where's our app, our main content. You're the only one asking questions, which sounds terrible when you say it out loud. Can I not type questions? Questions. There is one other person here asking questions, and there are so many other people here asking questions. That makes it a little bit better. And the last thing I wanted to see about is this broadcast event. Show the API key one more time just for luck. Have I lost the broadcast event? Where are we? Broadcast. Oh, that's that. We'll get others. Where is the broadcast event code? Yes. Yeah, use broadcast event. So I want to try this out. And I guess, yeah, we'll do it at the top level here. Use broadcast event. And then broadcast is going to be, oh no, actually we need it down where they asked the question. We're going to use event listener up here. And let's say I'm going to be crapping into an alert. Event type equals question alert. Someone asked a question. Cool. So right now let's grab our use broadcast event. And we're going to go into our questions and bring this in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to broadcast an event whenever someone asks a question. So we do const broadcast and we do broadcast function whenever a question's been asked. Come on, let me copy it. Yeah, got it. So after they ask a question, we're going to say the type is of question. If I can type and say value, it's going to be the question. I don't really care about the value, I guess, because we're just alerting that something happened. So something interesting that didn't prompt me. But if I grab this, grab another browser window, and say other question, and we got a 4 in there. It didn't trigger the alert. I wonder why. Checking whether there's a question. Each shot should have any key prompt. That shouldn't affect it. Yeah, P shouldn't be under there. Ah, okay, we got it. So maybe like React had an update. So I asked it here. I got prompted there. That's very cool. And then if I type it in here, like, oh, this person asked a question. So he goes, no, there's a question. And I was like, oh, they asked that question. I'm going to upload it. And then I can upload it again. And it jumps up again. So then I'm going to upload it here. And we'll get over 9, hopefully. And then we'll go over here. Okay, this is very, very cool. Do we deploy this? I think we're close enough. We could deploy this and make this a public thing. So, right, I'm gonna flip back to the main cam while I log into Netlify, GitHub, all that kind of jazz. GitHub, TFA, remind me later. Well, just if you're in the chat, any questions about what I'm working on or what I'm doing, like shout out or like kind of opinions, what I need to do. Slido clone. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to create a new GitHub repository for this. I guess I could probably actually share my screen while doing this because there's nothing sensitive on it. So I'm gonna create a new repo. So I clear this And is there a Git repo here? Yeah, so git add. And useful GitHub message. It'd be handy if I could type Git correctly. Also, I didn't catch as well. Thanks to all the folks who'd followed. It means a lot. Like, I've got followers, but it's nice to have people following along when I'm doing this. So I'm gonna grab this repo, fire it into here, and then I'm gonna push the main branch. Let's make sure everything's committed. Yep. Now I have to fire up to GitHub. So that's it, sent up to GitHub. I refresh this page now. That's obviously it's a create React app. Get some more wine. What I'll say to you, well, it's not me, it's cool. It's this fucking live blocks tool, it's cool. I try to stream, but I never published the video of it. I tried to stream about 2 months ago, and I tried to do the exact same thing using Firebase. And after 4 hours, I got so angry that I gave up. Like, put that as a testimonial on your site. It just was not working for me. And it was just so hard to fucking get any simple thing to connect or do or anything. Or like the hooks on this, and you just write to it and it updates it. It's definitely a project I can see using the more like, this example for like the Slido thing. Like, I could use Slido. Slido's free for like, my usage or whatever, but like being able to build stuff myself that I could like style and do whatever. And I obviously know like a lot of the main usage, I would say, or is it the main usage? The main usage is, interactive tools where you can like track cursors and like that shit's cool. Like that shit blows my mind, but I'm terrible at fucking UIs and following a cursor and all that kind of shit. Whereas like real-time communication across clients that I don't have to care or think about, I think that's what gets me excited. That gets me interested. Like, there's so much potential. I wish I could remember. I think we got a little loud here for the wine spillage. I wish I could remember the blog post. I think it was in JavaScript Weekly or the React newsletter, and someone was talking about live blocks, and they'd written a blog post about live blocks, and it also felt like it was, it was a post about live blocks for the sake of live blocks. But they built something. I can't remember what it was about. Obviously, I read it to the core. But I was like, what is this live blocks? Click on it, and I was like, you can do real-time interactions. I was like, right. My initial thought was like, I'm going to build a game. But I'm like, I'm not going to build a game in the space of like an hour. So it deploys. So now the site is live. So I'll drop this into the chat. So really, I actually had to delete for the old questions, but we'll keep them in there anyway just to see how it goes. So now people should be able to like add their own questions. Okay, someone's already asked the question. This is so cool. And they're moving about. They're all voting. Yeah, this shit blows my mind. I want to actually, while this is going on, I'm going to open up the DevTools. I want to see, I think you can see web sockets. Alert probably wasn't the best mechanism for telling someone a question was asked, because anyone who's typing gets like a blocking, web sockets. Oh, there's a way to view them in Chrome, but I can never remember how to see it, but it's pretty cool. Someone's obviously got all the votes up for this one. How fun it was. Oh, you need to refresh the WebSocket. Oh, yes, because I just opened the DevTools. So there's the WebSockets and token, yeah. there's a way. Oh, I see Cloudflare. So is it? Yeah, it's ran through Cloudflare. They seem to be getting really, really big and popular at the minute. The whole like edge workers, serving shit from across the world. And that being said, like I say, like, oh, you can expect the worker, but I can never understand half the data that's gone on this thing. Like, know how to figure out what's going on. Oh, okay, there we go. Yeah, so you can see some of the data it's going to cross. Now, the one thing this is very prone to is a spam attack where someone can figure out the URL and then just like flood it with data. I was at a conference before and they had a very similar system, and someone figured out you could spam the upvote button, and they spammed like a random question where it got like 10 million votes, and every other question had like 3 votes. So this obviously isn't secure and safe or whatever, but it's an interesting example. I think it's very cool. For folks who aren't from live blogs or watching along, remove the count, I think it's definitely fast finger type. It's definitely something to look into. I think it's something I'm definitely gonna be using for other tools that like require like connecting to different people, doing different things. Yeah, it was awesome. Especially thanks to the folks from live blogs. You got better testimonials on your website than you need from me. Thanks to the folks from live blogs who came along and joined different time zones to see what was going on. Just double check on questions. But yeah, this is a very fun tool, very, very easy to use. I know you're working on the documentation. Like, the documentation is good. I don't read and I skim. So it's nothing, crazy to do with me. This took me like a couple of minutes to realize, but this is really cool that this is like a live demo, I assume, where like something's going on. This kind of stuff's cool. It reminds me very much of like Code Sandbox had, or did they get rid of it? They had a thing where there was like a box dropped for every sandbox that was created. I think they've got rid of it now. But it felt very like immersive and interactive, and like those kind of small touches on a company site it gets the developer excited. Customers and PMs and whatever don't really care, but gets the gets the customer excited. Yeah, so we're gonna, I can figure out my command, call it kind of quits there, but I'll hang about and have my like last sip of wine if any of the folks on the chat have any more questions or anything they want to chat about. Big thanks to everyone who helped along and helped me figure out CSS and hooks and everything. And there's always a bit of a delay in these things, so I'll just give it a second or two. We all have lives and wines to be drinking. Make sure to tweet this out as well to see like the mayhem that's going to be caused by this floating site. It was very cool. No, I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. Okay, well, we'll kill the stream there. Thanks for everyone who watched along.